Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about how to set up your staffers for success. So this can be used for really any publication, doesn't necessarily mean only yearbook or newspaper. And it's basically aimed toward new staffs or staffs that have maybe undergone a big change. Maybe there's a lot of new members in the upcoming year or something like that. And also for new advisors. So if this isn't you, maybe you want to move on to the next class, but if it is, please stay and listen. Also, I'm not very used to recording myself, so I've already practiced and tried like 5 times, and if it doesn't work this time or if I mess up, then just please forgive me and have a little laugh and get get used to me probably messing up. But we're going to get started. So, my name is Bridget Norris. I advise and teach at William R. Boone High School in Orlando, Florida. I advise the Legend Yearbook, Highlights newspaper, and Boone Publications, which is our online format for our newspaper. I graduated from UCF with a degree in journalism. All right, so today we're going to talk about some suggestions, tips, ideas that I hope you find useful to implement into your staff and your staff environment to create a fun, positive learning environment. So I know that some of these things might be things that maybe won't work for your school or maybe that you already do, but I'm hopefully you'll find one or two that will maybe stick. Okay, so setting up staffers for success, I kind of broke it down into 4 different parts. Providing instructionals and resources for your members, making your expectations clear, celebrating success, and lastly, everyone needs to feel valued on the team. All right, so first one, providing resources. Create a staff manual. So this should have things like photography, design, but also just normal classroom expectations or requirements that you might have. So for example, maybe how to sign out if you're going to get an interview, just things like that. Also, anything that should be taught in class or that is being taught in class, I would recommend you either make a screen recording or a video of it or a handout so that students can review individually as needed throughout the year. This will prevent them from asking you the same questions over and over. So just kind of get in the habit of every time that, maybe at the beginning of class, a student's gonna go show something, maybe just have them record themselves teaching it, and then they can go back or other students can go back and review it or put it in a handout. I'm going to go over some of the handouts and instructionals that we use, but kind of a rule of thumb, anything that you're going to teach in class that you want students to remember throughout the year or apply throughout the year, make it where you can provide it as a resource and they can view it on their own, individually and on their own time. Okay, so this is our shared drive on Google. So we have a bunch of different folders at the top. So these are things that we felt like categories that we wanted to provide things on. So writing, theme, sports beat. And then at the bottom, there's just some videos that didn't really fit in a category. But as you can see, we have a newbie's guide to deadlines. This is a very extensive document and it has step-by-step how students should be going through the deadline process. So I know for us, or for my newer students, it takes them 1 to 2 deadlines to really figure out who they're turning into, what requirements they need to be meeting in order to even turn in, just everything like that. So as you go through it, I would kind of chunk a deadline, break it down, but also have this big document into little steps, and that way they can go and check, all right, did I finish step 1? Am I ready to move to step 2? So it's a very individualized process, and they can kind of check themselves, but also know that they have other staff members there to ask for help along the way, but something that maybe they can look at home, and then the next day they come into class, they maybe can develop a better game plan by using that resource. And then we just have AP style. This is maybe common AP style rules that are broken or just maybe mini quizzes so they can quiz themselves and kind of put their knowledge to the test. So if you have any questions or want to know more about what's inside of those folders, just ask. But I think that it really just depends on what your staff members need or use the most, I would say. Okay, so making expectations clear. So this means for staff members, for editors, and maybe for parents as well. So I'm going to go over a syllabus, a staff member contract, and then an equipment form. All right, so here is the equipment form. So I adapted / stole this from Renee Burke, but I put my name at the bottom, so thank you, Miss Burke. All right, so it goes through and it talks about the responsibilities of borrowing the classroom equipment, so cameras, lenses, etc. So it talks about cost of the cameras that we have and the penalty that you face for not returning the camera the next day. It also talks about owning your own SD card, which that was an adaptment we did this year or a change that we did, but it's really worked out. So if you have any questions about this, just let me know. It just keeps students accountable for returning the equipment in the correct way. Okay, next, this is our contract. So it talks about being required to participate in class-related activities, but also out-of-school activities. You might have to attend a football game if your story is about football. So just kind of things like that. It also talks about ad sales, which is a whole other topic, but you can kind of read through this and okay. Lastly, utilize self-assessment. So there's a self-check on every single assignment that we have in the classroom, and they physically have to look at it, and there is an option or a line for them to check off each aspect of the rubric. So it's kind of that they're doing their due diligence and really making sure, okay, do I have everything before I turn it in? Sometimes it's better to wait a day or wait a few hours, fix it, and turn it in after you've really made sure that you are meeting your expectations and the staff members and advisors' expectations before turning it in. Okay. We also every Monday have editor meetings. So at my school, we have an editor only class period. So that class period is before yearbook. Class starts 5th period. So every Monday we're able to meet before we see them and kind of get our goals for the week or our goals for the day and just talk about things that we might be seeing that we want to adjust or even things that we want to celebrate and congratulate people on. If we've noticed that someone's been doing a really good job, someone's been kind of stepping up and doing more, then we want to talk about that in 5th period and say thank you in front of the class and let them know that they're doing a really great job. All right, but also we need to communicate when staffers or editors fall behind of the expectations. So this depends on, your staff and your environment, but I like to individually talk to people with my editor-in-chief, and we always want to make sure that we're communicating early so that we still have time, or they still have time to kind of catch back up when they start to fall behind. Okay, so celebrating success. This leads me to my next topic. So this creates a deeper desire to grow and achieve the next step. So it also raises the standards for what's possible. So a few examples are things that I know other schools do or our school specifically does, but a marriage ceremony, so marrying the yearbook in August, having a cake, saying your vows, and then going on with the year under the expectation that you are very committed to creating the yearbook. Another thing that is something that I know a lot of schools do is deadline king or queens. So we started this I think 2 years ago, and basically we announce a deadline king or queen, we take a picture of them, we actually even put them on the board this year and had a deadline king and queen board, and it had a picture, like a large picture of them blown up with a crown on, and that was kind of a fun thing that we implemented this year. Awards, so this could be for Quillen's Girl, FSBA, any of those organizations. Whenever you get something back or you get positive feedback back, you want to celebrate that. So that's something we really try to do. School-wide shout-outs. So, for example, let's say that you are at a football game and you're covering the event, and a parent afterward emails me and says, I got to see so-and-so. They did such a great job taking these pictures. I'm so excited that they were there to get pictures of my kids on senior night. Then that's something I want to bring back and say, they noticed that we were there and you guys were making a really positive presence for Boone Pubs or yearbook or whatever it might be. Like, thank you guys for setting a really good example and making us look great out there in the field. All right, lastly, distribution day. So this is obviously a huge success getting a yearbook out there. We always make it a really big party. So I think most schools do this, but if you want specific ideas about things that you can do on distribution day to make it very fun, let me know. All right, so everyone needs to feel valued. So there's a study that shows that productivity increased by an average of 12% when members feel happy. So it's important to make your staff members feel happy and valued and like they're doing something that is positive or means something to other people. So we have a mentor program. So at the beginning of the year, it kind of falls out after the first month and a half, just because people kind of make friends with other people on the staff and they kind of find their way in the staff. But in the beginning, I think it's really important to have a mentor program. So to pair a returning member or an editor with a new member on staff. So they have that one person that they can feel like they can go ask questions to that they might be embarrassed to ask me or feel embarrassed to ask in front of the class. Maybe they think it's a silly question. But just having that one person to ask questions to is really helpful. And for that mentor to be encouraging, maybe they get them a little soda and chips if they, made their first deadline or they got close to making it, or even if they didn't, if they just really tried hard. Just having someone to be encouraging and there for you to ask questions. Also, highlighting staff members' strengths. So a lot of the time on our staff, new members kind of struggle with finding their strength. So our members do everything. So they're the photographer, they're the designer, they're the writer. So once they kind of figure out what they're good at, really boost their confidence and say, oh, so-and-so is really great at taking photos. Why don't you go help her? Or how about you show us what you took pictures of last night? Can you show us those? I think I'd love to see them. Just boosting confidence, and that'll really help people feel like they're valued. Okay, so we have a birthday board in our classroom. So at the beginning of the year, I have everyone fill out a form, and it has, it's a Google form, has your birthday, what kind of like favorite birthday treat you have, a cake, a cookie cake, what your favorite soda is, favorite drink, favorite snack, all of these different kinds of things to kind of get to know them. And it comes in, it's so helpful because when the year is coming around and someone's going above and beyond or someone has a bad day, you can just look at that form and someone can get them a little treat to make them feel better or to congratulate them or thank them or whatever it might be. That form is so helpful. So it also has on there what they want for their birthday. So we celebrate every single birthday. So we don't do it by month. We celebrate everybody's birthday. So whether they want a cookie cake or whatever, we always make sure that they get what they want for their birthday and that we celebrate them on that day. All right, parties. So we have a Halloween party, a winter party, a Valentine's Day party. We also do Valentines in the class. So we'll make a little bag and everybody brings in enough Valentines for everybody. And we have that day. And then senior night. So this is typically on distribution day. Afterward, we'll get food and we'll have a party at someone's house and make it a senior night. So we'll get them a basket and they wear a crown or a silly hat or something. Each year's different, but just like in sports, I think that yearbook or newspaper should have senior nights too, because those seniors probably did a lot for you throughout the year and maybe their entire 4 years. And it's important to honor them and thank them for that. And then lastly, the banquet. So banquet is always a fun thing. We actually give out varsity letters for being in yearbook. And there's other awards and superlatives and things like that as well. But banquet is just a really nice night to be with your parents and also have them kind of get to know your friends and figure out what you've been doing in yearbook all year long. So those are some of the things that we do to make sure everyone feels valued. If you have any questions or suggestions or anything like that, feel free to email me. I put my email right there. So just let me know. I hope you found at least one or two things in here that might be helpful for your staff. And thank you for listening. All right. Bye, guys.